Alrighty, guys, thanks for joining me. This is your host, ID Jester. Welcome back to Lords of Fate and our weekly update on what's going on with the progress of the game. This week we have, major changes, updates, and information that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. So this is probably going to be a longer episode, so I can discuss and dive into why the changes happened and kind of explain things to you guys that are following along with the process here and get your feedback. Also, later in the video, we're going to talk about a special opportunity that I'm going to give someone out there. As some of you already know, we had introduced our next character that we're going to be making in the game, Valtier and the Human Sorcerer. And we now need to round out the group so that there's one of each color. We now have red, black, white, green, red, yellow. I'm sorry, try that again. Black, white, red, blue, yellow with Valtier. And now I need a green hero. And that green hero is going to be a ranger character. So I'm going to give somebody later on in this episode the opportunity to name that hero coming up that we're going to be creating. So if you want to be part of the process, this was suggested to me during one of our live streams, and I appreciate that. I thought that was a great idea. Kind of give people a reward for watching and listening and, kind of following along with everything that's going on. So, Valtier will be the next character, and once we get him done, then we're going to be working on the last hero that will come, and that will be a green hero, and it'll probably be a ranger type. And of course, naming rights and requirements and everything will be based upon, legally, we can't obviously call it, Dritz or something like that. So, but if you have a thought and you want to be part of the process, stay tuned. Later in the video, we're going to talk to you about that. All right, so as I mentioned, big changes to Lords of Fate once again. If you've been watching our last few playthroughs, things are progressing rather nicely. I'm liking the direction it's headed. And I think I'm really going to like the direction it's headed after this update. This is such another major change that I'm going to call this Update Alpha 3 because of all of the updates and the changes that are made to the game system. So what has been updated? So if you've been watching along and our playthroughs, and we had set up a nice adventure, and we were sending the characters through the adventure and having a good time playing through the adventure. Two issues I found out. Number one, it took way too long to play to get to the point where you actually are playing like the core game. There's the beginning part of the game, and it was kind of slow as the characters build up. And then, by that time, the power level of the enemies were getting too high. And it was a great, but it was just dragging out way too long. And I'm sure some of you out there probably feel the same way as I do about it. So, my main goal was to keep gameplay between half an hour to an hour max. Get through the adventure an hour and a half max. I'm sorry, half an hour to an hour. And if something happens and it goes a little bit over an hour, that's okay. I don't see that as an issue. But if it drags out 2.5 hours and we're only getting through like one or two of the quests, that's way too long. So in response to this, what I've decided to do is update and change kind of the formatting on how the adventures are going to happen. And because of two reasons. Number one is because we took too long to get through the adventure. I like how the adventure progresses and everything happens, but it just takes way too long for that to get to the point where the characters are making it through the adventure. You know, if you're playing, it's probably 3 to 4 hours to complete it, and I think that's way too long. Second thing is, we never actually got to see the Dark Lords for the game, and they are an integral part of the game, obviously being part of the title and everything. So we never even got to the final boss, to fight the final boss and to, you know, engage him or, you know, get to have fun with that boss. So that was kind of a bummer as well. It was like 3 hours or longer to go through the adventure just to get to the boss, and then you know, kind of get to the core mechanics of the game where you're fighting the Dark Lord and kind of getting to the point where, yes, now we feel like we're, you know, trying to complete something. All right, so with all that said, that is why the changes are happening, and you know, kind of the backstory behind why there's been changes. I don't just make changes because I'm like, oh yeah, let's do it this way, or let's see what happens. There's always reasons behind the changes. And I think, you know, when you're creating a game, developing a game, you want to keep those changes, you know, you want to keep the core elements of the game together, but change how those elements work so that it fits your vision a little bit easier and a little bit better. And, you know, my vision for the game was half an hour to an hour per adventure against the Dark Lord, against the enemies, with your characters, and having a good time. And so I didn't see that with our previous playthroughs just because of the length of the game was too long. It was a great time playing it. I was having a lot of fun. I don't know how you guys felt, but it got to be way too long, not involved. That's kind of the wrong word. Way too much to get through what I needed to get through to get to the final boss. All right. So let's talk about the changes. So what I decided to do, and this is just again, all of this is a work in progress. So you got to expect things are going to change. Things are going to be updated. Things are going to be different than they were. Sometimes you might agree with the changes. Sometimes you might not agree with the changes. Sometimes you might think, oh, this is not, you know, this isn't the game that I thought it was going to be, and I'm not going to like this as much. Or you might be like, oh, this game is so much better now. So hopefully you'll feel like I do, and that all these changes are going to make things much easier and much better for everyone. So again, this is a work in progress, and just keep that in the back of your mind. And especially when I show you like the artwork and the, you know, the map I'm about ready to show you, it's just, this is like alpha, right? I don't know. You know, it's not going to look the prettiest and the best, but it's doable, and it will give you to the point where you understand what I'm talking about. So this is going to be the main change that we're doing. Well, one of the main changes with the game. And now what I'm doing is I'm separating the adventure into 3, 4, 5, I don't know what you want to call mini adventures, or parts of the adventure, or individual quests of the adventure. I'm not sure what title we're going to use. I'm not sure what format we're going to call it. But think of it as each one of these is like a separate part of the main quest, the main goal that you're trying to get to. So you can see this is Purging the Death Knights. If you've been following along, that's kind of what we've been going along with. And you'll actually recognize some of these things we've talked about in some of our other episodes. So you can see here in the main town of White Mist, you can see the lair of the sewer rats in red there. That's level 1. So basically that in itself is a self-contained area a self-contained adventure, a quest, whatever you want to do. It'll have a story going into it. You read the story, you play through the quest, and then depending on what happens during the quest, when you finish it, you'll either read, part A or part B to give you some information to pass you on to the next part of the quest. So that in itself is just going to be think of it as like a one-shot quest, a one-shot dungeon, whatever you want to call it. It will be self-contained in that it will have a Dark Lord. It'll have the location. It'll have all the Dark Lord cards. It'll have everything for that quest that the players are going to go up against. And you notice now there's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5. So this is obviously a 5-part quest. So you can go through level 1, complete it, save, and then pick up next time you have a spare hour or whatever, and you want to go on to part 2 of the quest, and then you can save it and go on to part 3, part 4, then part 5, whenever you feel like it. So that way it's not just one big, long, super long adventure. Everything's been broken up into individual things. As I mentioned, though, exciting is that each location and quest will have its own boss. It'll have its own Dark Lord. It'll have its own cards that you're fighting up against. So like for the lair of the sewer rats, you can obviously see here is our Dark Lord for that location. And that is going to be Carrick, the Ratman Rogue. And he's got his special abilities and his actions and his hit points and everything, blah, blah, blah. Once you complete that adventure, like I said, there'll be like a little text thing that you read ahead of time to understand what's going on with the little story, the background. You play through this adventure, then it gives you some more information, sends you off to the next quest. So it's more, along the lines of like a true Dungeons and Dragons adventure, Pathfinder adventure, whatever you want to call it. But it's, like I said, it's a self-contained thing. You're going to go and fight Carrick with the level 1 and his little location. And you're going to fight him with his cards and his abilities and his everything. And once you defeat Carrick or the Dark Lord in that area, then you move on and you complete that quest, and then you can move on to the next one. And of course, everything will be leveling up as you progress, which is the next newest and most interesting thing. So, like I said, as you progress through level 1, and then you go on and you head out to the Skull Crushers Bandits, which is going to be level 2. You're going to, once again, meet another Dark Lord with his own set of cards, with his own location cards, with his own special abilities and everything, which will hopefully play completely different than the last adventure you're on, based upon what's going on, and there might be special rules for this quest and everything that you will follow along with. And you can see Sartek here, it's the bandit leader, and of course, he's going to have certain things and certain abilities and cards and everything that are going to work with him and his location that he is going to be hiding out at. Once you defeat him, then you move on to quest number 3, and then quest number 4, and then finally quest number 5. But I kind of mentioned this quickly, but what are the reasons, the differences, and the issues about balancing and making things balanced, obviously, and fair for both the players and the game engine behind the scenes, is to progress the characters as they progress, to make the different locations harder or better. So what I was doing before was each of the different locations, when you got to another quest, it ramped up slightly to make things a little more difficult. And then obviously when you got to the final boss, it ramped things up, and his quests and his abilities were tougher and blah, blah, blah. This way, since everything's broken up into like first level and then second level and then third level and then fourth level and then fifth level, it's easier for me to create that because I know the power level that I am dealing with. It's not just random. The players and the characters will have a certain power level, and I can prepare for that and make it easy or not easy. I can make it fair and difficult, but fair for both sides so that the players feel like they have a chance and it's not just a walk in the park against the enemies. So yeah, it's going to be a matter of going through the adventure, but this way you can take breaks and you can save it in progress and pick it up later. But as I mentioned, there is an exciting whole nother part to this, in that the characters now, obviously we couldn't have them start at their power level against level 1 and then also at their same power level as they go up against level 2, 3, 4, and 5, because if everything else becomes harder and they don't become better, then it'll just make things tougher and tougher. So now there's actually an upgrade system built into the game. So let me show you a couple examples of this. So let's see, where did I save the gosh darn files now? I tell you. All right, here we go. So you can see as an example here is Sapphire. You can see that she is a level 1, a level 2, level 3, a level 4, and a level 5. And every time she upgrades in levels, she gets more hit points, as you can see, or life points. And she also gets a new special ability or an updated ability. So for level 1, when Sapphire cards have her draw a card, she draws 1 additional card, and her action is deal 1 blue damage to 2 enemies. At level 2, her action has been upgraded. When Sapphire's cards have her draw a card, she draws 1 additional card. As an action, she gains +1 to damage with spells. So as the quest progresses, so will the characters. They will earn a certain amount of experience points that they will be able to spend on things, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Spoiler alert. But they will also level up their characters and get new special abilities and special powers that they'll be able to activate. We look at level 3, Sapphire here. Notice she's got more hit points. She's now up to 18 hit points. And when Sapphire's cards have her draw a card, she draws 1 additional card. And anytime she draws a card, she heals 1 life point. So an upgraded ability there for level 3. And then level 4, when Sapphire's cards have her draw a card, she draws 1 additional card. And anytime she draws a card, she heals 1 life point. And then her action is upgraded to gain +2 damage with spells. So as the quest progresses, the characters will progress as well to equal the power of the new enemies and the new bosses and the new fights that they're going to have to deal with. So let's see. If we look at, let's see. Here is Voreheart. You see at level 1, he's got 15 hit points, and Voreheart can play 1 skill card each activation without it costing an action. And then his action is deal 2 red damage to an enemy and taunt them. At level 2, he's up to 19 hit points, and his action has been updated to deal 2 red damage to 2 enemies and taunt both of them. At level 3, Voreheart can play any 1 card each activation without it costing an action. So not just a skill card now, he can use any card. And then at level 4, his action is upgraded again to deal 2 damage to 2 enemies and taunt both of them. If any enemy is defeated this way, then gain 1 action. So super new cool abilities and upgrades, and you can see as he progresses, he's going to get more hit points. He's going to get new special abilities. I will mention that the base level 1 has got your starting powers, and then each time you upgrade a level, it alternates back and forth, and upgrading one of your either your special ability or your action. So for Voreheart, it upgrades his action, and then it upgrades his special ability, and then it upgrades his action, and then for level 5, it'll upgrade his ability again. For Sapphire, she's kind of a little bit different. It goes, she upgrades her, it upgrades her action. Yeah, it does the same thing. Upgrades her action, then it upgrades her ability, then it upgrades her action, then it upgrades her ability again for level 5. So, as the characters progress through the adventure, they will be upgrading. They're going to get more life points. They're going to get new special abilities. They're going to get new powers, actions, and all that. Oh, yes. So, all this stuff is obviously taking a lot of time to work on and create. But I think having a self-enclosed, when we were playing before Adventure Alpha 1 and Adventure in Alpha 2, it was going through the adventure, and there wasn't really a good stopping point. Plus, you have to save all of your progress and cards and everything like that. This way, it's now broken up into, say, chapters. Maybe chapters is a great way of... So, chapter 1 is level 1. And you play through this chapter, which should take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, or maybe a little bit longer, depending on how tough it is, or if you run into a hard situation, or, the card play, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then you can self-enclose that. You can stop right there at that point. You're going to take your experience points you earned from that part of the adventure. You can then upgrade your characters, and then you can just set these aside with your character decks, and you don't have to keep track of like you're in the middle of an adventure, which I think is a great point. Plus, like I said, now every different location will have its own Dark Lord with its own special abilities, its own special powers. So I think that will obviously make it super cool and super fun, and you'll be right up against the boss right off the bat. There's no waiting. There's no going through the quest to get to the final boss. This is, if you play Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder or anything like that, right? There's always, each dungeon has a boss. Each cavern has a boss. Each adventure has like a mini boss or whatever. So that's kind of the same thing, right? You're not fighting the Dark Lord at the very end of the adventure right off the bat, but you are fighting your mini bosses along the way to get to the final Dark Lord at the end of the quest. Alright, so it's taken a lot of work to get to this point. I like the changes, but there are even more changes that are going to hopefully make everyone excited. If we look at... All right. Let's look at Grey Rock's sheets here for a second. So these obviously should be pretty familiar with people out there that have watched and played along and blah, blah, blah. There are 2 kind of important new changes here, which are, I will give you an example here. If I can find one, that would be super awesome. Yeah, right. Let's bring this guy up. So before, when I was showing off all the cards and everything, there used to be a cost to bring the card into play, and then there used to be a gather fate cost for each of the different cards, and sometimes they were different. Most of the times, give me this one. Yeah. Most of the time they were, 90% of the time they were the same. There's a few that were different between how much it cost and how much you can gather with it. So you can see now with the new cards, there is no gather fate on the cards anymore. Each card costs to gather the fate the same amount as it costs to bring it in. So why is that change made? Well, I found that when I was playing the game, it made for some easy decisions on which cards to get rid of, because there were cards that were not as good in play and they would give me a lot more fate than how much it would be to bring them into play. There were some cards that were specifically designed to be weak in play and to give you the option to gather fate. By removing the gather fate option on the cards, and now you will gather whatever it would normally cost you to put it into play. This does several things. Number one, it makes it much more tough decision, because if you want to gather a really good item, if you want to gather a lot of fate, you're going to have to give up a really good item that you're not going to be able to get into play, instead of giving up a crappy skill or one that's not as good that might give you 3 fate on it. Oh yeah, I'll just use that one, and then I can still use my super good item and put that item into play. Well, not anymore, my friends. Oh no. So right now, if it's a really good item and it costs you 3 to put it into play, you can trade it in for 3 fate, but then you won't get to put that item into play. But maybe you're like, this isn't a great, power or ability. I'll just give up this one. Well, you're only going to get 1 with that. So now each item that whatever it costs to bring into play is now how much fate you will gather on that card if you turn it in. So low cost items to bring into play only give you 1. Medium, like say the Blessed Warhammer, is going to let you get 2 fate, and then those really good items that cost you 3 fate to bring in, well, now you can gather 3 fate with them. But once again, you got to make these tough decisions, and that's what I wanted to be about. I wanted to be about, dang, do I want to turn in these really crappy little ones and go for the one big guy, or do I want to turn in the one big guy and so I can cast a couple of the little spells, or littler powers? You got to make those tough decisions, and that's what I think makes a really good game. You also notice, since we're looking at Greyrock, not Voreheart, we're looking at Greyrock, he now has 3 cards here at the bottom that actually say starting card. That's right, starting card. Each character is now going to start with 3 cards already in play, because again, I think it's kind of how do I want to say it? It's kind of not it doesn't make sense that these characters don't have their armor and weapons available to them, and you might play through a whole session and never see the Blessed Warhammer that Greyrock has, or you might never see his war shield or his holy symbol, right? So now these will start in play for him out in front of him, which obviously gives the players options right off the bat. It takes away that first, I would say, 5 to 6 rounds where all they're doing is gathering fate and trying to get some items into play. Well, now they're going to start with 3 items already in play. These items come in for free. The reason they have a fate cost on them is because they're, if you get them fight an enemy and they make you discard an item or whatever, and you have to discard one and you have to then bring it back into play, you will have to spend the fate to bring it back into play. And I think all characters will have a level 3, a level 2, and a level 1, just like Greyrock. Why do I keep Greyrock has here? You can see his holy symbol is a cost of 3. His Blessed Warhammer is a cost of 2, and his War Shield is a cost of 1. That way, everyone will be equal and fair and getting their items into play. And of course, they're probably going to start with, like, Voreheart is going to start with his armor and his weapon in play. Sapphire, I think, what does Sapphire, let's look at her real quick. Let's see. She starts with her Owl Familiar, which we've played 2 games so far, and I have never seen this card yet. One of her, iconic character cards, and we've played through. I mean, if you look at her portrait, right? There's the owl sitting right there. That's the reason she has this card, is because her portrait has it. We played through 2 adventures, and I have not seen this card yet. So I'm like, this is another reason why I want to make sure that characters are going to start with things in play. Her other starting card is going to be the Mage Staff, her Owl Familiar, and I think her robes, her mage robes, are her 3rd item. So you can see, based on what the character is, what they do, they're going to have 3 starting cards that they're already going to have in play, ready to go. So like I said, it's going to take away those first couple rounds where the characters don't do anything but gather fate and try to find items to put into play and all that. So they'll come in already ready to go, which makes more sense. It doesn't make sense these characters are running around without their armor and weapons available for them to use. I mean, it doesn't have to be realistic. Obviously, we're playing a card game that can simulate anything, but, in general terms, it makes more sense to have them start with something already in play, ready to go. And like I said, it's going to be their armors and a few of their weapons. Like Sly is going to obviously... where's Sly? He's going to start with his dual daggers, right? Because that's like his special cool ability. Is he's got these Sly daggers that he can use. But we never got, again, we played through 4 or 5 or 6 hours, and we never got both of his daggers out at the same time to use their special abilities. So, yeah. So hopefully now with them starting, he's going to have the 2 daggers, and I forget what his other one is. It's on a different card or on a different sheet. So I think the fact that, yes, now you're going to have super difficult thing for you to try to figure out is, wow, I got really cool items, right? And I got really cool powers, and I got really cool spells and skills, but I've got to have a way to spend fate to use them. And if heroes only generate 1 fate a turn, I can only use 1 card for fate each turn. Then how am I going to get all these super cool things in? You might have to sacrifice something good. Speaking of sacrificing something good, what are you going to do when you're done with adventure number 1, right? And you move on to level number 2. How is that going to make things easier or tougher for the enemy, for the characters? Well, the characters will earn a certain amount of experience points when they complete level 1, based on how well they did. And once they earn experience points, what are they going to do with it? Well, they are going to actually be able to upgrade some of their cards in their deck. Where is this? Why is this one not showing up? Right. So, as you can see here, if we look at, say, Cure Light Wounds here for Grey Rock, right? So his normal level 1 power of Cure Light Wounds says heal a hero 3 life points. If that hero uses White Fate, then heal them 4 life points instead. Well, he also has upgraded cards that he can then change and buy with his experience points that he can then replace cards in his deck with. So you can see Cure Light Wounds here costs 1 experience point. And now it has the ability heal a hero 4 life points. If that hero uses a white fate, then heal them 5 life points instead. A hero healed this way also removes an injury. So it's got a special bonus effect, and it obviously gives more life restoration to this. If you look at say, let's look at his second sheet. Yeah. He has the bandages here. It's item equipment used when this hero restores life. Add 1 extra life point. Well, he can now. Hello, go away. Why can't I ever get these? So now he's got the upgraded bandages. In fact, most of these have new names. We'll call these strong bandages for now. Let's call it intense bandages. There we go. So now for one experience point, he can upgrade this card, and when this hero restores, add 2 life instead of 1 point. So the heroes will be able to upgrade their cards with their experience points. Characters earn between 3, 4, 5 experience points per adventure that they'll be able to spend on cards. You can see here to upgrade his war shield, it costs 2 points here, and he can block with the shield and take 3 less damage from any attack and deal 1 white damage to an enemy. So new ability on it, and also blocks more damage. If you want to be the reason for this, all right, so let's talk about the reason. The reason for this is because this way you can kind of build your character as it progresses. The rules are very simple. If you have a certain amount of experience points, you can buy cards equal to that number of experience points. So let's say we earn 3 experience points. We can upgrade, we can buy 3, or we can buy 3 level 1s, or we can buy a 2 and a level 1, whatever you want. But every card that you purchase, you have to take a card of the same color out of your deck. So if you purchase a yellow card, and you want to upgrade to Heavenly Punishment, you don't have to remove the punishment card that originally is in the deck, but you need to remove a yellow card. If you buy a white card, then you have to remove a white card. Well, this will let you, say, fine-tune your character, how you want him to play, which adds a lot more replayability or design decisions and gets the player more involved with their characters. Because just because I upgraded Cure, and I bought some upgraded Cure Light Wounds spells. In fact, instead of Light Wounds, we should put this on, say, like Cure Medium Wounds, or probably Medium. Of course it doesn't fit. Cure Medium Wounds now, right? Alright, Cure Medium Wounds. There we go. So there, I've been renaming things. So everything, like I said, is a work in progress. So just because I bought a Cure Medium Wounds doesn't mean I have to remove the old Cure Wounds out of my deck. So I could turn Greyrock into more of a healer guy by keeping the other Cure Light Wounds in his deck and adding these cures into his deck and removing some other cards. Maybe I remove his if we look at sheet 2, right? So maybe I remove his spiritual aura, and I remove his bless, and I buy these 2 cures. So now I'll have extra curing in his deck, and I won't have the bless, and I won't have the spiritual aura. So I can make Grey Rock more of a healer type, as opposed to like I could upgrade his blessed Warhammer and his War Shield, and remove the Cure Light Wounds out of his deck and make him more of a upfront fighter with more attacks and more weapons and everything. And that way, you can kind of fine tune your characters to be, to give them the bonuses and the kind of, when I took away the extra cards and I built the characters into a solid deck, it took all the player's abilities to change and upgrade and fine-tune the deck away. Well, now that is back in the game with this change, because now every time you level up, you'll have experience points to fine-tune, change, and upgrade your character however you want him to be. And you can see we've got several sheets of upgrades for Grey Rock here. So you can upgrade his Sanctuary to Elite Sanctuary. He can upgrade his Command spell into Strong Command. He can upgrade his Ring, in fact, to the Ring of Souls. He can upgrade his Blessing weapon spell to be a Holy Blessing. So he can upgrade his Warhammer, he can upgrade his Blessed weapon, and this one will actually give it 2 blessings on there. So if you want to turn Grey Rock into more of a fighter, right? More of a upfront fighter that's going to do a little bit more damage for the group, you can fine tune them with all of these upgrades that you're going to be able to do. And in fact, the characters will also get ready to have your mind blown. Yes, right. Your mind will be blown here in a second. They will also get new abilities and powers and items and stuff that they never had access to before, because just like in Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder or any of the role-playing games out there, all your characters that start at level 1 don't have access to all their spells. They don't have access to all their feats. They don't have access to all their equipment. They don't have access to everything that they get along the way. So, yes, prepare for the fact that your characters will not only be able to upgrade the cards that are already in their deck, they will, of course, be able to now get new items. You can see 3 of Grey Rock's new abilities here. Holy Healing. It's a 2-cost white ability that spend a white fate and all heroes can heal 1 life point. Again, I can then upgrade that, put that in my deck to make Grey Rock more of a healer. More of a cleric, more of a, protector. I can also have Chalice of Life, a 2-cost item equipment. It does cost 2 to put this card in your deck. Action, if your hero is reduced to 0 life points, spend 1 white fate. For each fate spent, give them back 2 life points, then discard this item. So kind of a way to recuperate if some other character in the party gets knocked out. Divine Shield, 3-cost ability, 2 costs to put this into your deck. Use. When you take damage, you can take 1 extra point of damage and choose a hero. The next time this round that hero is damaged, they only take 1 damage from that attack. Divine Shield, 2 costs. So if you want to be more of an upfront fighter, and you want to have the ability to help protect other upfront fighters or yourself from taking a lot of damage, now you can do that. So you can kind of fine-tune and build your character the best way that you can for, as you upgrade. And like I said, because this is all happening, right, as you progress. Once you complete adventure number 1 or chapter 1 of this adventure, once you complete the lair of this sewer rats, and you get 3 experience points or whatever you get, you put those 3 cards in your character deck. You take the 3 cards out, and like I said, the only requirements is if you had a white card, you have to remove a white card. If you had a yellow card, you have to remove a yellow card or whatever. You have to remove a card that matches the same color, so you keep the same. You keep the same amount of cards in your deck for each of your different primary and secondary colors. And then you make the changes to your characters. You can store them in a nice little travel box or whatever. Next time you want to do the second adventure, you've got them already ready. Boom, you play through this adventure. Half hour, whatever it takes, and then you're done. And then you put the character, you upgrade, earn the experience points, you upgrade them again, take the cards in, take the cards out, and then you're ready to go. Next time you can sit down and play with adventure number 3. So instead of one big, long, super long adventure, you now can separate it up into little tiny quest parts of the adventure. But now, as you progress through the adventure, your characters not only will get new special powers and abilities, you will also get new items, you will get new powers, you will get new abilities, you can upgrade your existing abilities, and you can kind of fine-tune your characters however you want and however you see best for that character. So exciting, super cool news, I think, for a lot of people out there, including myself. The only downside is, there is a downside. This, my friends, is going to take a long time. Right? Because now I have to fine-tune every single ability in the game to make it a first level power, and then I need to fine-tune all of the upgraded abilities, and I need to fine-tune and add in all of the cards that I didn't need to do the first time around, right? So the big adventure is great. The problem, like I said, was, it was too long, and it never let you got to fight a Dark Lord, and it never really, concluded. It was super long. But now each one of these locations is going to have its own boss, right? And it's going to have its own cards, and it's going to have its own special, events and everything for each of the different locations. And so now I've got to go through and make all those cards and fine-tune all the abilities and fine-tune the characters. And as you can see, quite a bit has actually happened along this path. So we're getting, we're going somewhere with it. The reason I'm showing you actually Grey Rock is because he's the only character I've worked on with this so far, because it's taken a while to actually get it to the point that we're going to get it to. So that is exciting. I think it is going to be a super exciting news. I think it's great changes. I think a lot of people will be happy with the changes. It's just going to make it a lot more work for me. It's going to make it a ton more work for me to fine tune and create all these upgraded cards and all these new locations and all the new Dark Lords. I like doing all that stuff. I'm kind of creative mind anyways, and I kind of enjoy being, doing this kind of stuff. And it doesn't bother me to do that. I mean, yeah, I get burned out every once in a while when I spend 4 hours working on stuff. I'm probably okay, I gotta take a break because this is crazy. But I enjoy doing all this stuff. It's just a matter of taking the time to do it. So that is all of the changes coming up in the game. Quite a few changes, and I think we are in Alpha 3 now with all of these changes. But I foresee, that we will be able to get the lair of the sewer rats. We've already got the Dark Lord for that location. Now it's just a matter of making his deck and the location deck. Probably 18 cards. Probably 18 cards will be good. And, then we can try them out and see how it goes with our level 1. Are the characters going to be too powerful now? Are they, kind of going back, right? So we've progressed quite a bit from Alpha 1 to Alpha 2 and the changes, but this is like, I thought Alpha 1 to Alpha 2 was major changes, but this is, compared to that, this is super changes. This is, this changes the aspect of everything. I think in a good way. It's like I said, it's the only downside. It's a lot of extra work, so it's going to take me a little bit longer, where I can't just sit down and play a new adventure with you guys every day, because it's going to take a while to create all this stuff in the background and everything like that. So that's it. So here's what I want you guys to do. We've already talked about this, right? We talked about this in the beginning. We have got 4 characters already made. We're hopefully, once we get these characters upgraded and everything, blah, 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 they're going to start working on our sorcerer, which will be our yellow character. And then from there, we're going to go from that to our green character. So that way we have at least one character in every color, which we can try out different characters this way, because we'll have plenty of them. And now's your time to actually get involved if you want to be involved in this. So I've already named our sorcerer, Valtier. We're looking for a ranger, and I think it's going to be a drow ranger, because I'd like to get some more races in here. We've had a couple humans, a dwarf, an elf, and a halfling so far, so I want to get some other races in here. So I think we're going to look for a drow ranger, obviously. I'm going to be asking for a name. So here's what you can do if you want to participate and put a name in. We are going to have this until the end of September. When September's over, this is over. If you want to name the ranger character, and you will give full credit for this, as long as I agree with the naming. So we will work together to name it. You will come up with a name, and I will say, yes, that's acceptable. If you write like Jerkface or something, obviously you will not get that. So you're going to have to come up with a good name for a ranger character. And I'm counting on us fine people out there, and I'm sure you'll do a great job of it. I'm willing to give that opportunity to you guys. All you need to do in this video by the end of September 2021, by midnight, once it hits October, the bell tolls for all. All you have to do is down in the comments section down below, type in the name of this character in the chat. Carrick. If you put that in there, you are entered into the drawing. And that way I will know that you've watched this video, and if you want to leave some other comment about things, that's great. You'll have to the end of September to name our drow ranger character, either female or male, it's up to you. And we'll work together to make sure, you'll name it, I just won't accept dumb names, obviously. So it has to be something unique, something that's not obscene or going to cause any kind of issues with people out there or anything crazy like that. So, Carrick, down in this chat, down below, and if you have any thoughts about the changes, the upgrades, all the work that we've done on this so far, and anything you want to say down in the comment section down below, but don't forget the word Carrick, when we'll hopefully get you to name our next drow ranger coming up. So looking forward to that. And if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, comments, if you want to mention anything that I missed or didn't talk about, or if you have any thoughts, I'm hoping to get another live play actually with Carrick and his band of misfits. Probably next week sometime. I'll be able to have his stuff done, and I won't have to worry about getting the upgrades done just yet because we're going to be going in with a level 1 character. So I just need to go through all the powers in the game and make sure that they are a level 1 type character power. And that way, we'll be ready to go. So anyways, rambled on long enough. I know this was a long video. I knew it was going to be going into this. There's a lot to talk about, a lot going on behind the scenes that you guys don't even see what's going on. I mean, I've got files and screenshots and, I mean, just all kinds of stuff going on behind the scenes. I can just show you what I can show you right now. Just giving you enough that you can kind of understand where things are headed and the direction, the individual chapters of the adventure, with upgrading characters, with upgrading powers, and the ability to fight each chapter with their own boss and location cards. So hopefully everyone thinks that this is great. I guess I could have just said that and been done with it, but then you know, I'm not sure everyone would understand what I'm talking about. So that's why I wanted to kind of make it a little bit longer to show you guys everything. And if anyone has any thoughts, comments, suggestions, we'll see everyone next time. Thanks for watching. You have till the end of September.